What if I told you that the immense wealth gap between blacks and whites in America was constructed, that it was built and planned? The emancipated black man was not given his compensation all those generations ago, and his descendant now is carrying the financial, social burden for the reparations that never came, that should have come all those years ago. Well, after extensive research, I've come to understand and accept the facts of reparations and what they mean for the African American community in this day and age. And the general public doesn't seem to understand that the deliberate mitigation of the black population has undermined the community as a whole, and they don't also seem to understand what the compensation can do for that nation and for our entire nation as a whole. Well, today I will go into the topic of slave reparations. I will go into the background of slaves and their descendants and their capital lost. And I will go into the mitigation of the community and how they were pushed down and prevented from building wealth. And finally, I will go into the current fight in the 21st century in this day and age about, slave reparations. Well, transition. Hopefully all of you at the end of the day will hopefully understand this topic a bit better. But now going into the background, a small history lesson. Since 1619, since pre-Declaration of Independence America, colonial America, slaves have been used, more specifically in Jamestown, until 1865, when they were emancipated by President Lincoln at the Emancipation Proclamation. However, over these years, in this period, they were enslaved, disenfranchised, and repeatedly pushed down to where they couldn't build wealth. And well, according to Robert L. Allen of the Black Scholars, between 1619 and 1865, the value of the unpaid labor of the African American is estimated to be between 98 billion and 10 trillion US dollars. The same author, Mr. Allen, goes on to say that the value of the racial inequality the value of the racial inequality to Black Americans through the wealth programs between 1929 and 1983 is estimated to be a mammoth $16 trillion. Well, now that you see exactly the background of the information, hopefully we can delve deeper into the mitigation of the community. And first and foremost, we can start off post-spellum. And since the Civil War, many ways they lost capital was through, they lost many ways, or there were many ways they lost capital. One way particularly I can reference Lockhart from the NBC News was the 40 acres and mule promise. Emancipated men were promised 40 acres and a mule upon the end of the Civil War. Such promise never came to fruition, and they never received the 40 acres or the mule because it was vetoed by President Johnson after the assassination of President Lincoln. The same author goes on to say, the same author being Lockhart from NBC News, she goes on to say how welfare programs were built against African Americans, particularly the Social Security program. This program didn't cover domestic workers domestic industries in which a lot of African Americans found themselves in. Because of this, 60% of workers, of African American workers, weren't covered. They didn't get these benefits from the Social Security. And actually 75% of these African Americans were found in the South, where they were hurt the most. and in an interview by Mr. Rafranali at the Harvard Kennedy School, which is in fact related to the regular Harvard School, they go on to show that the GI Bill lowered benefits for black servicemen than in previous years to make it a fraction of what it used to be, leaving a substantial amount of benefits from the black servicemen. And seeing how the average black individual fared in the 19th and 20th century, one must take note of what's going on in this current day and age in the 21st century. Well, according to Mr. Gary's of the Harper's Magazine, H.R. 40 bill is something big. Originally written by John Conyers in 1979, it was to build a committee to base and evaluate the racial inequalities and injustices done to the African Americans by whites over the centuries in our country, and to build and to remediate exactly what they find. Well, as recently, it has passed the House and is going to go to the vote, and this is monumental. This is a monumental step in officially recognizing that slave reparations are needed in the United States. And we, as a people, as the audience, we have a voice. We can go out and support this bill. We can make this bill pass. Make to where the people have a voice to have this bill pass and hopefully remediate all of the suffering that the blacks of our country, the black people of our country have suffered over the years. Today I have given you all info that you will hopefully go out there and use for the greater good, and hopefully you can understand exactly why slave reparations are better for America as a whole. The information I've given you today is on slave reparations, of course, and of course I have gone across the background of the African American slaves and the descendants, the mitigation and subduing of potential wealth building amongst the community, and the current struggle in the 21st century over the topic. I hope you all go out there and with clearer eyes and more open eyes, hopefully build a better repertoire and to see why the bill and the struggle are important for our nation. And so many lives have been changed forever due to greed, and quite frankly, in the 21st century, in our day, we can remediate